Difficult conversations are, well, difficult to have, but in understanding that children are competent and able, then we can see that there are more topics that we can engage in with young children than we may have believed in the past. In having difficult conversations with young children, we are able to then recognize the responsibility that each of us has within this discussion, but then also the implications of the discussion that we're having. Think for a second of a difficult topic that an adult or someone older than you had with you when you were younger. What was their approach in presenting this difficult topic? Did they try to glaze over it, or were they honest and wanting you to understand what was really going on? Picture this. You're out on the playground and there are about 2 to 3 children playing inside a wooden house. They're discussing their plans of their family and who's going to be the mom, the dad, the dog, and they just look like they're having a lot of fun. As you stand there listening and observing, one of the child looks at you and says, "Ha ha ha, look at us, we're not socially distancing." A few seconds later, another child says, But it's okay because children don't get COVID." You ask the child, "Oh, I wonder where you heard that." The child then very quickly tells you another older individual told them that. Think for a second of how you would feel upon hearing these words from these children. What are some of the thoughts and concerns that are going through your mind? And maybe, what would be your next step in this discussion? And recognizing that these children were on the older side, meaning about 5 years old and about to go to kindergarten, I decided to take this opportunity to really talk to them about it. After asking them where they heard this information, I then said to them, I wonder why we need to wash our hands so much nowadays, and why we need to make sure we're always coughing into our sleeve or sneezing into our sleeve. Another child in the back then said, because we don't want to spread the virus. If we cough and if we don't wash our hands, then our hands might be dirty and we might get the virus. I then said, "Oh, that's a very good point. But I thought this other child said that children don't get COVID, and so we probably don't need to wash our hands and we don't need to cough into our sleeve." The child who made that comment earlier said, "Yeah, we don't need to." Then the child in the back who explained, saying that we need to protect ourselves from the virus, went on to say that none of the children here have gotten it, but if we don't protect ourselves, then we might get it. After giving them space to share their ideas and have this discussion, I then said, that child brings up a really good point. Even though we haven't had COVID in our center, it doesn't mean that we can't get it. That's why all of us need to take the responsibility to make sure we're washing our hands, make sure we're covering our mouth when we are coughing or sneezing, and to the best of our ability to socially distance when we can. It's understandable that we all have different approaches of explaining and engaging in this conversation of COVID with young children. There's a lot of stress and anxiety encompassing this current season, and so we don't want to burden young children with this stress and anxiety. That said, young children have a responsibility during this time as fellow citizens and human beings on Earth. In recognizing their responsibility as well as our own, that helps us better understand how we can have a conversation and dialogue with young children about COVID and other difficult topics. When we take the time to understand responsibility, then we can see what children are able to handle and what children aren't able to handle. This way, as we're honest with young children, we're valuing them as competent beings, but also protecting them as younger individuals in this world. As we engage in dialogue, as we examine and reflect on responsibilities, Then we are able to protect one another and engage with one another pro-socially within this new normal. As we do so, we can then have a better understanding of what it looks like to watch, think, be.